Hey guys, so we're going to jump into this video, but before we jump into this video, just wanted to give a special thanks to the individual, the subscriber who sent me the link for this because this is pretty dope. Also want to just put out there that this particular operating system in the state that it's in right now is 100% legal for me to run. It is a trial license. It is an OEM copy of a Windows 10 operating system, and it meets all compliance standards and regulations brought forth or set forth through the US. Therefore, it's not a leak of data. The system will never see the light of day as far as internet connection is concerned. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Like and subscribe for more content. Hopefully I'll keep this stuff going. It's been a little slow the last couple of months, but hopefully we could keep this rolling. I just want to give a special warm welcome out to anybody that's out there that was affected by Hurricane Helene. If you guys are having problems with your infrastructure, if you guys were underwater, if you guys need help with stuff, shoot me over an email, and I'll see if I can put you guys in touch with either the right people or help you out myself on my free time. Feel free to just send me over whatever you guys got going on, and I'll see how I can help you guys out. I know what it's like when you have a disaster and you need a DR recovery. Sometimes you on a whirlwind. And I know that's not the most easy thing to recover from, especially when it's everything all at once. So I'm just putting it out there that if you guys need help, email is inside the channel subscription area. Feel free to shoot me over an email. Just give me some details and let me know how to get in touch with you, and I'll give you a call. If it's something I can help you out with. If it's not, then I can always pass you guys off to the right people to talk to. As always, check out the wiki for links, configuration scripts, and other things IT. Like and subscribe again if you haven't already. And hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Still working on Granite XP in the background, so I do make reference to that in this video. So hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, so I got a special one for you today. Today we're going to look at a system that's not necessarily a homebrew, it's just not publicly accessible. So this particular operating system is Windows 10, and as you can see, it is Chinese. Now I don't speak Chinese, so I'm going to use a lot of Google Translator and a lot of just remembering the operating system to get this installed. And then once we get installed, we can install the language pack so we can get the English language back into the actual operating system. Now with that said, what this operating system is Microsoft Windows 10, the Chinese government edition. So I know what you guys are probably asking yourself, well, what does this actually mean? What is this operating system? Well, this is a legitimate Microsoft Windows 10 build, specifically for the Chinese government, and what it contains is nothing. So in China, they have very strict security policy regulations and laws where they do not allow any of their data to be transmitted back to Microsoft. So there's no telemetry, there's no analytics, there's nothing in it. The actual operating system is more secure than a Windows 7 operating system out of the box, or at least that's what's been publicly disclosed for the operating system. It's kind of one of those unicorn operating systems that we in the IT industry know exists, but is extremely hard to get your hands on. So presumably this system is leaked and is legit. Now, as to whether or not that is true, if it is legit or not, or if it's just being marketed as such or publicly disclosed as such, are two completely different things. I don't really know the answer to that, and until we get into the operating system, and even after that, run our Tenable Nessus scan to compare this version to another version. So whatever this build is, once it's done, we'll install another Windows 10 system, OEM, with the same build revision, and we'll do a Nessus scan test between the two different operating systems to see if there really is a functional difference between the OSs. Now keep in mind, during this test, at no point will this operating system ever see the internet. Ever. So as a result, I don't know if there's updates that would need to take place. I'm not sure. I don't even know if we could update it to 22H2 if that'll work. Quite frankly, at no point will I try that unless I download the ISO file and we DISM it and actually do the in-place upgrade to the later version of the operating system. It's not something that I'm interested in putting out on the public side. Again, it is what it is. So let's get this installed. And let's take a look at the Chinese government edition of Windows 10. Okay guys, so the installation process is pretty much the same thing as it is in English, and as a result, I think I got it right. I guess we'll find out once we get the language pack installed. Interestingly enough, I don't really get too much of an option configuration-wise. So we didn't have to go through any of the location service stuff. We didn't have to go through any of the configuration for disclosure. We didn't have to go through any of the configuration for any the Cortana garbage. None of that stuff existed in the installation process. So presumably Windows 10, as this appears to be, in this particular edition, may actually be the Gov version that was created specifically for the Chinese market. Okay guys, so I went through the process of trying to install the language packs on this thing, but they don't actually install through the PowerShell commands. Even with the DISM and the direct connection to a disk, they still don't seem to install. Like, I could set the command values through PowerShell and it tells me that they're set, but they don't actually set. So there's got to be something in the operating system itself that stops that from working. With that said, this is our now splash screen when we first boot up into our Windows 10. We're going to call this the Gov edition, I guess. When we boot up into this operating system, you'll notice that we do get Control-Alt-Delete as a login right out of the box. So in other words, we don't have that old built-in garbage slide stuff that you would get in a Windows 10 machine. Now, I'm going to clunkily walk my way through this operating system because while we do have some language in English, the vast majority of it is still in Chinese. Interesting. Okay, so it appears that after I changed my language pack, my password changed because I'm guessing the keyboard alignment's different now since I'm in Windows with whatever it is. And again, see, some of the things we do have English, but some of the things we do not have English. So the first thing I'm going to do is right-click here, and you're going to see that there isn't much information here as far as what each one of these things do. However, we do have an actual letter that differentiates between what this is and what it is. Now, again, I don't speak Chinese, so if somebody else down there is getting a kick out of the fact that I'm fumbling through this, feel free to leave a comment, and you can laugh at my expense because I just don't know the language. So for the sake of this, what we'll do is we'll look at the snipping tool real quick and do a one-to-one comparison to see if we have the total number of values in here, which it does not look like we do. So we do have run. We do have search. I'm assuming File Explorer is E for Explorer. And then we have Settings, and we have Task Manager. Then we have the PowerShells. Okay, Computer Management is G. K is Disk Management. Network Management for W, which I'm guessing is wired. We have Device Manager, and then we have System for Y. So let's start with System, and we'll click on that one first. Okay, so this build is 1803. So what we're going to do is we're going to build out another desktop with Windows 10 1803 on it. And then we'll run a compliance scan with Windows 10 1803 and this particular version of Windows. Now, keep in mind, it's possible that the reason why the language pack didn't install right is because I don't have the 1803 disk inserted in this thing. It is a 22H2 version. And it's possible that maybe the language pack is not compatible. You know, I figure for the elephant in the room, let's check our Task Manager real quick and actually look to see if there's less overhead running this operating system. Now, I can't be for certain right now because I don't have an 1803 running, but I'm going to guess that 982 megs to run the actual full-blown version of Windows 10 is less than what's required to run Windows 10 1803 without the government edition. Because I got to be honest with you, so far in the system, it's extremely polished. It's extremely smooth. It's snappy. It's quick. Everything you click on opens and closes real quick. I mean, it is worlds faster than Windows 11, but it actually feels faster than most of the other operating systems that I've used in the Windows 10 family as well. Now, this particular OS, again, presumably, if it is what it says it is, does not have any phone home junk of any kind to Microsoft. So I've set a static IP address on this thing for my internal LAN where the Nessus scanner is for us to run our Tenable scanner against it to see what it comes back with. Let's, while we're in here, take a look specifically and see if we could see if Cortana exists, see if we have access into location sharing stuff. How about Microsoft apps? Let's see if there's apps that exist on this system. Okay, so we got the cheat sheet back up on the screen, so we can see apps and features at the top. So let's just right click on this bad boy again and go to apps and features. I guess F is apps and features. So let's see what's actually installed on this thing out of the box. Now keep in mind, obviously VMware, that's me. I installed that. But we don't have anything else really installed. I mean, I don't see... Not only do I not see like Internet Explorer, but I also don't see Edge. We don't have a search function. We do have IE installed, but obviously IE is not an app, right? So IE would have been an integrated installed application through Microsoft Windows in this version of Windows 10. So it's not going to show as an app. And obviously, again, as I'm saying this, obviously we're not going to have Microsoft Edge because Edge didn't exist in 1803. Let's look at the rest of what we got going on in here. We have administrative tools. PowerShell. Defender. Let's take a look at the... So obviously I can't read this, but let's take a look and compare it to what the other Windows shows. Okay, so let's do a side-by-side comparison here, obviously with Windows 10 in English. So we have Home, we have the virus, and again, you can keep in mind that the icons along the bar here don't change, right? So they're the same. We do have alternative icons here that I don't see in our current configuration, but that could just be because we're looking at 1803. And we do see Windows Defender is disabled. So Smart Screen. Let's take a look and see what we got on there. Now, we may have to load up our 1803 system and actually just compare the 1803 to the 1803. It's interesting to me that it doesn't look complete. Again, this could be just because we're on 1803. So let's stop speculating. Let's spin up an 1803 system and let's compare these things side by side. Okay, guys, so we're on 1803 Windows 10 now. And this is what our settings menu looks like on 1803 Windows 10. And you remember how I was saying that it didn't look right to me. That looked like we were missing features or functions. So let's compare those things. And what I'm going to do here is because, again, as far as real estate is concerned, I would say we're probably at a lack of real estate with the single monitor being able to display all of the details and features. So I figured what we could do here is maybe I could shrink this a little bit so we could see it. Okay, so we have Cortana privacy and updates and security hidden or obscured by the box. But if we do a one-to-one comparison here, we can see system, which is right here. So this is system. You can see devices. Again, I'm going based off of the fact that what the icon itself looks like. So what the icon looks like in comparison to up here, that's devices. And again, system. Because once again, I just don't speak Chinese. Then we have network settings. So we have it listed as internet. The network settings, network and internet connection here. Then we have personalization. So that's this icon right here. Next to a personalization. And we have apps. So we do have apps that's listed here. Accounts. It's accounts. There's the language and time. Ease of access. It's privacy. And Windows updates. So what are we missing? We're missing gaming. We don't have gaming as an option in the Chinesium edition. We don't have phone. And we don't have Cortana. So the operating system, the Chinese version, does seem to be different as far as the OS is concerned. Now the interesting thing about this is the fact that
without these additional add-ons, the gaming thing, without Cortana, without linking the phone, I mean, I think that at that point we would definitely tighten the security on the operating system. Now, something that I want to point out in both of these operating systems, and quite frankly all Windows operating systems, is the sheer level of stupidity the language settings are. So you would think, because common sense would dictate this, that if you went into the language settings, right, so time and language, and I hit the drop down here, and really just go to language, right? So United States, right? So that's the region, and then, you know, language, English. So if I wanted to add a language, we could see in this version that the language settings are defined specifically with what the characters are, or what the language translation is, right? So the language is written in one way and then in English, right? So you could differentiate between what each language is. But in the Chinese version, you don't get that option. So you could hit the drop down to view the languages, but all the languages are in Chinese. So you could choose a different language, but you need to know in Chinese how to translate that language so you could change the computer to that particular language, which is just got to be one of the dumbest things I have seen in a modern operating system. So, for instance, if we go into the language settings on our Chinese version of Windows 10 and I click the drop down to choose a different language, I don't know how the heck you're supposed to know what that is, because everything is literally written in Chinese. So again, there are differences between the operating system, not always for the better. That said, you know, the menu system aside, we do definitely have differences in the security structure of the OS itself, functional running differences between the OSs. So I think what we should do now is we should just get right to it, and let's Nessus scan these two machines, the 1803 machine as the US-based machine and the 1803 machine as the Chinese-based machine. Now, neither one of them have any patches on them, and I don't know what that'll show us on the actual scan. I'm actually very interested to see, from a security perspective, is this actually more secure? And if it turns out to be more secure, it might be worth spending the time and trying to actually fix the language packs on here to see if it's possible to use this, you know, and go through all of the menus and figure out specifically what is the differences between the OSs. Because obviously right now, not being able to see things, it's really clunky for me because I just don't speak that language. But if we could figure out how to get the language packs installed and actually install the English language on it, we should be able to figure out specifically what completely in the actual operating system the differences are between one and the other. And it's not that I can't do a lot of this stuff just based off of memory from clicking on things over the years. It's that, you know, there are some options that, you know, they put the cancel button on the left and then the next menu they put it on the right. And I just don't remember that granular specifically what those menus look like. So let's run a scan against this thing and see what it actually comes back as, because I'm very interested in seeing if the Chinesium edition of the Windows 10 operating system is actually out of the box more secure than what we get in the US. Okay guys, so while this thing's actually scanning, I figured what we'd do is just kick off this video kind of in the middle here, where basically I've gone through what I know as being the commands that I could use to set the actual local as well as system configured language. And I have it all, as you can see, set for ENUS. All the variables are set correctly. Unfortunately, when I still run the get command to actually show what we have, so for instance, if I run the DISM command here to, you know, get the international details on this, not really sure why that did that. It's because we're not elevated. But at any rate, if we run that, we can actually see that it still comes back as being Chinese. Again, I'm not entirely sure why the UI in this thing doesn't allow you to run any additional configuration. So you can't seem to change the language, and it may be something that we just have to install the language configuration itself manually onto the system, or force feed it into the cab configuration files on the actual Windows system and then change the registry keys. Because we could run this, we could continue the operation, and we'll see that we still have the default system UI is obviously not ENUS. Now, I don't know if there's something else on here that I need to configure or change, but I mean, even our FALAC language is ENUS. I can't figure out specifically why it is that when we tell it to use the ENUS language, it still refuses to change the config. So it might be something that's actually just straight up baked into this operating system as part of the package as it shipped. Because again, it's technically, based on what I understand, it's kind of a one-off system that's designed for Chinese security requirements for compliance. Now keep in mind, like our GCC high that we have for like our O365 is just their O365. They don't have our commercial based one. They don't allow ads or ad revenue or people to steal data through remote access, whereas the US does and a lot of other places do. China does not allow that. So as a result, the vast majority of Chinese-based systems that are actually made for Chinese use are usually very secure, even more so than what we get here in the US. So, we can't change that setting, and I'm wondering if maybe we have group policy here. Let's see if we could do a GP edit. It's amazing to me that I could run the commands in English and they all work, but the visualization in the OS, clearly, I mean, based off of what you just see here. Oh God, forget it. So let's see if I could decipher specifically where I have to go inside of the OU structure inside of group policy in order for us to pull back the language details. And then once we get there, whether or not I can actually read it. So as you can clearly tell, there's no way for me to really tell because I just don't read the language. I guess I could highlight this whole thing here and paste it into Google Translate to try to figure out specifically what this thing says. But I believe, and I could be wrong, and if I am wrong, please somebody add down the comments and let me know I'm wrong. But I believe this is administrative tools, and I believe that control panel is this, and that this is the language configuration. And I base that solely off of the structure of the menu and the number of options in the submenu itself. I don't know for sure. I believe, again, that this likely, and hopefully I'm right, is the one that indicates to force the selected language UI, and the C meaning that it's not customized, it's not enabled or disabled. So I'm going to guess that's what I'm looking at here, but I don't know for sure. Let's Google Translate this and see if I am right. So before I Google Translate it, here is what it looks like on the other 1803 machine in English. So you could see where I would get that idea that this is likely the same menu as what we have on the Chinese government edition, but not 100% sure. Now I can tell you without a doubt that there's a lot more policy involvement here than there is available on the Chinese system. So even though that's considered a pro system, it doesn't have all the ADMX and ADML templates in it. But it would be interesting for us to extract them and maybe see if we could modify them so that way we could see them in English and move them to a server structure to see what those policies actually show and if it's anything different than what we have currently in our US-based infrastructure configurations. All right, guys, so it appears, at least, and I could be wrong, but it appears that this is indeed the correct location. So all I did is I just grabbed the information here, did Chinese simplified, and translated it to English. So that's how I get the output. But you can see here that it says the UI for language for Windows menus dialog boxes. So it's not configured through group policy, at least on that system. But we could take a look at the registry and see if perhaps we have a security edited policy on the system. So SecEdit, something of that nature. A database SDB file configured on that system to actually lock out the language change. Let's take a look at that real quick as well before we take a look at our Tenable scan output. Okay, so clearly this isn't configured, but that is the right location, and that is what that says as far as the menu is concerned, which, you know, again, it's muscle memory from going through these menus 15 million times. Let's go into regedit real quick. And now let's dig and see if we could find if there's a SecEdit policy in this thing. Okay, guys, as you can see, that is where our configuration is. So it's HKey local machine software, Microsoft Windows NT, current version, SecEdit, and then registry values. That's a mouthful. So the reason why I know this is because this is, if we looked at like our pre-configuration from our Windows 2000 days, or even that build that I'm building, or which will eventually just probably be renamed Granite XP Forever. That's how I went about getting the policy injected into the system where I didn't have the ability to group policy it. And if you look, you could see we have an enormous amount of policy configuration in here for our Windows 10 system. Now, keep in mind that since we have so much in here, I wouldn't be surprised to see a very low number on our Nessus scanner when it comes to the security of the system. Now, keep in mind that we'll probably see something, even at the most minimum, because I got to shut the Windows firewall off in order for this to do it. So I would suspect that we may get, something that says the system's out of date as far as updates are concerned, but we may not, because some of the value and configuration that exists inside of the system would block the ability for those controls to even function from a remote standpoint for access. And since there's no telemetry and there's no analytics, there's nothing being broadcasted from the system, so we may not see much of anything. Let's take a look now at our Nessus scanner and see what that shows. Okay, guys, so we're over on our Nessus scanner now, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring us into the vanilla version so we can take a look, so we can get an idea of a baseline configuration. So we already know we have the SMB stuff. We've seen that in a million different videos, a million different times. That's just something that's built in. So all in all, 1803 is actually not too bad. That's a pretty stable and solid operating system when it comes to configuration. There's not too much in here. I mean, there's a patching assessment failure because there's no patches. It's out of date. It's considered end of life. But, I mean, the reality is that we really, if we go back and we look at this, we have 59 infos and we have one medium. So 59 infos or 59 configurations that could be done. And then one medium, which is the SMB configuration, which is fairly simple. Now, again, this is an out-of-the-box configuration for Windows 10 1803. So there's no patches or anything on the system. It's just completely plain Jane as it would have shipped out of the box on a disk or a USB drive. So now let's take a look at the Chinese system. And I'm really interested in seeing what this shows us. So nothing. Literally nothing. And the reason why is because the SecEdit policy that's configured on the system has all of the patch security built into it, so the operating system is as secure as it could get out of the box, making that particular system just amazing. It really is. It's genuinely an amazing desktop from a configuration standpoint on security. Now, we haven't dug in yet to see if there's any kind of like additional software in there for like spyware basis. But as far as Nessus is concerned, as far as the Tenable Scan is concerned, that system is just as secure as a system that's been added to a group policy, domain controlled, infrastructure, password policies, setup, all of the policy configurations, basically a full NIST 800-171 build. That's what would show here. The fact that we get it right out of the box tells us that that particular system is amazing and that Microsoft could actually build a secure operating system. All right, guys, so that pretty much sums up this video. Let me know down in the comments, do you want to see more of this operating system? Should we dissect this Windows operating system and see all that went into it? Should we export those SecEdit values and import them into another 1803 machine and see if we could duplicate the security on a secondary machine? Let me know in the comments what you guys think. I like this one. This one was really cool. This was a really cool find. Shout out to the person who sent me the email with the information on where to find this, because this is genuinely all in it. This is the dope operating system. Now, I don't know, again, how secure it is from a spyware perspective, being that it's not a U.S. native system. And then also the elephant in the room, which is the language barrier here in the operating system that we'll have to figure out if we decide to push forward into this. But, come on, guys, this is pretty cool. A operating system designed for the Chinese government. That's pretty slick. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Let me know also if you don't think that this is the actual Chinese government version and this is just something that somebody slapped together. Although I got to be honest with you, based off of our Nessus scan, I think it's probably legit. All right, guys, hopefully I'll catch you on the next one. Take it easy.